There we go.
Kick me off. John Harbaugh extended a possible Lamar extension. That and so much more on this episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Yes, welcome back to another installment, another edition of the Purple Rain podcast. Oh, can you hear me? We all good?
Oh, I think we're muted. Are we muted?
I think we all good?
Let's see. Oh,
We
little
good?
technical difficulty here.
We good?
Looks like our guy simply is muted. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but welcome to episode 304 of PRP. Let me see if we can go ahead and take him out of the scene and put him back in. Maybe that'll work. Get our guy Alex on.
Can you hear me?
No.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
still not unmuting.
Oh, snap.
Try leaving and coming back in.
Yeah, I
And
guess so.
yeah, we'll see if that works. But again, thank y'all so much for joining this episode 304 of PRP. I am your host, Sutton Def, along with my co-host, Simply AS10, as you guys see, having a little bit of technical difficulties on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well out. Some things to get into on this episode of the show. Simply is back in here now.
Hello.
We can hear him. Yes, we
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Yes, we can.
Finally.
We,
Oh, boy.
yeah. So, like I said, man, we are here for episode 304 of PRP. Shout out to each and every one of you guys who've come through to this episode of the show. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Whether you're watching on YouTube with us live, whether you're watching on X with us live, or whether you're watching on Instagram, wherever you may be watching or listening, we appreciate you for coming through and being a part of the Rain Gang family. Like this is episode 304. And there's a couple different topics to for us to go over here in this off-season episode of the show. But before we do that, let's go ahead and see who's here in the live chat. We got the Chef 87 in here. Good evening, PRP. I can hear you both. Thank you so much for chiming in there. We got Lisa Frankel in the house. Says, hey, Alex Sutton Def, I'm happy. John is back. Everyone keeps complaining about how he rolls. Thea Pennell the fourth is in the building as well. Says, what's up, Purple Gang? What's going on, Thea Pennell? Appreciate you for pulling up per usual, man. We appreciate all of you guys in this episode of the show. Again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, you can go on Instagram and follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on X or Instagram at Sutton Def. See right there down below. You can follow this guy on on Twitter at simplyas10 and on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. And then, of course, most of our sponsor, Manscaped. You can go on manscaped.com, get yourself whatever you want, fill your cart up to the guy, and put in our code PRP at checkout. That's right, PRP for Purple Rain Podcast at checkout. Get 20% off plus free international shipping. And they've got tons of great products they use on pretty much daily, to be honest with you. So you go on there, get yourself something nice, and save 20% off with our code PRP. We got Long Gates Productions in the house as well. It says, O's got the dub. Ravens out at the club. Make sure you drop sub. Lakers in 5. I love that. Man.
Oh, man. Good one to start it off. Oh, man.
How are you feeling, Alex?
I'm feeling good. Like you said, Manscaped has some fantastic items. Probably going to be using one soon on this little thing right here, but I'm ready to talk some ball. We actually have some news for once, not the basic offseason stuff with the draft. About 3.5 weeks away. We'll be talking about it soon, but some Ravens news, some possible big news coming out. So I'm feeling good right now. I'm feeling good. Weather's getting nicer. It was raining today, but really can't ask for much more.
Yeah, weather's definitely breaking. It's been breaking. It's honestly broken here in Texas, where I currently live, and it's been like consistently like 80 degrees every single day, and only getting hotter. So I can imagine back in Maryland, back on the East Coast, it's probably like, I don't know, like maybe low 60s or something around there. Like it's starting to feel good outside, right?
Yeah, feel real nice.
Yeah,
Real
yeah,
nice.
yeah, man. Love to see that. Love to see that. Okay, like we got a couple of things to get into and hash out on the episode of the show. So make sure you stay locked in because There's some interesting topics on this one. There's some very interesting topics. If you're not watching this episode of the show live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, first of all, hello, shout out to you. Thank you for coming through to this episode of the show. But now we're going to go ahead and get into our Purple Rain report.
Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. And there it is.
Yeah. So, like I said, guys, we have to go ahead and get into the couple of things that we have to get into on this episode. So the first thing, I think the biggest thing, it happened over the weekend, right? Alex, I'm not sure where you were, what you were doing. This is actually my first time talking to you about this, so that you're getting like our genuine first reactions after talking to each other about this topic. So as we all know, the Ravens extended John Harbaugh a year early, a year before his deal was up, and gave him a 3-year extension. Is going to make him one of the highest paid, top 3 highest paid head coaches in the NFL. Now, whether or not he deserves that, or whether or not he doesn't deserve it, whether or not you like it, love it, hate it, let us know right now down below in the comment section. If you're not watching live, let us know in the comments. If you're watching live, let us know in the live chat, because we want to chop up with you guys. This is going to be a very interesting topic, I know, for the both of us. So, Alex, I'm going to let you take it away first. What was your knee-jerk reaction to the Ravens going ahead and signing John Harbaugh a year early to a 3-year extension?
I was like, like, if I was a betting man, I would have said, the Ravens are probably going to hold on to him. But at the same time, it is a little frustrating to the point where, like, let it play out. Let me see what he does throughout the season. And if we're, on a nice hot streak and we're looking like a team that's not dropping games to the Raiders, not dropping these stupid games to Gardner Minshew quarterback, let's see. And, make him coach for something, because he hasn't been coaching for something for the past however many years. He had that job security. And he's had that, for a while since 2018, since, the seat was a little hot. But, to me, I have this just fantasy, I guess you can call it, of having a coach like a Sean McVay. An offensive guru mastermind that can just, let Lamar have this completely just different way of just playing, something that's just, takes the NFL by storm, which it has been, but just at the head coaching position. I don't want to say I completely hate it. I really don't. Like, I didn't think he was bad last year. I don't think we lost the game per se just because of him. We had some bad mistakes, but I'm in between like the hate it and the like it. I don't hate it all the way, but I felt like there's a time and a place, and this really wasn't the time or the place. You could have waited till midseason, like I said, and really make him coach for something, because there truly is a hump we have to get over, and he is a point of it. He's a reason for it. So, like I said, in between hate it and like it, not all the way hate it, not all the way like it, but I'm underwhelmed by it, to say the least.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you there. Underwhelmed is a good way to put it. And the only reason why I feel underwhelmed is because, like I said, he hasn't had anything to really play for in terms of like job security wise, like in the past decade or so. You know what I mean? And, like it's been very very easy going for John Harbaugh, just kind of keeping this team basically as a better version of the Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe we don't go over 500 every single year. There's been a couple of years where we kind of dropped the ball on that, but we have more relative success than the Steelers, but we still end up falling just as short as them at the end of the day. And I think that's something that you can, of course, attest to the players. You can attest to Zay Flowers fumbling the ball at the goal line in the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. You can attest to Mark Andrews having the drop at the very end of the game, or fumbling the ball with like 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. You can attest it to Lamar Jackson throwing uncharacteristic interceptions and having uncharacteristic turnovers in some of the biggest. You definitely can. I understand that. You can also attest it to the defense not really forcing any turnovers at all in the Lamar Jackson era, that is. All of these things like has to do with like the personnel on the field. Yes, I understand that 1,000%. However, there's been a common theme, right? Each and every year in the playoffs and some of the biggest moments, the team just shows up small. It's not just, you can't just attribute to one specific player or two specific players. Of course, there's those highlight moments that involve like maybe one or two specific players that we can kind of really really harp on, but entire team doesn't really show up in the same way that they would do in the regular season. I do want to tip my cap a little bit to the defense, because the defense is actually pretty well in the playoffs, all things considered. So the last two playoff games that we lost against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, then the Bills in the divisional game this past season, right? I think both of those teams combined scored a total of 6 points in the second half of those games. a combined total of 6 points. So the defense, they've been kind of like, knocking down on that front, but still, again, not forcing any turnovers, not giving our team, our guys on offense, an extra chance, to go out and win that game. So all of these things, all I can really do is back to the guy who's supposed to be making these players do their job. Who's supposed to be inspiring, motivating, keeping these guys disciplined, keeping these guys locked in to do their job, even when the playoff comes around. And John Harbaugh, at the end of the day, he hasn't been doing that. He hasn't been doing that. Just point blank, period. And so again, I understand the extension from a continuity point. Right? I mean, John Harbaugh's been here for so long. He's got the respect of, everybody pretty much in that building. The players love him. He's kind of like a player's coach, you know what I mean? And so getting rid of him would mean like, oh, this is kind of like a baby little reset, right? But instead of kind of like hitting the reset button on that coaching and kind of like changing the leadership and the culture behind this team to see if maybe a shift there would work in order to get it over the hump to a Super Bowl, instead we're going to stick with John Harbaugh and just kind of, again, kind of like reload the clip, for lack of better words, for the next 3 seasons. We're going to talk about Lamar Jackson, his extension talks coming up soon, but all of these things kind of like give you like this common theme, like, okay, like they're trying to kick the can down the road just a little bit more, like run it back a few more seasons with this exact same regime. And I just would have thought, personally, I would have thought like, hey, make him go into this next season with a fire lit under his ass to change something, to do something. Have that uncertainty in the back of his head, like, hey, like if I don't do something different to like make sure that these guys are prepared for January and beyond, it might be my job. I know Mark Andrews, he squandered the last one. Lamar Jackson helped with that as well. I know the year before that, it was a couple other things too. But at the end of the day, I'm ultimately responsible for this team's performance. Only John Harbaugh, being the head coach, is responsible for this team's performance. And, it just doesn't really, again, it doesn't really give John Harbaugh any sort of incentive to switch anything up and do anything different. He's already got a new deal a year early, and he's good for the next 3 years. So, like you said, underwhelming is definitely a good way to put it. But let me see what you guys are saying here in chat. Let me see. We got Deshaun86 in the house. If you don't get the job done this year, trade him. Interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, coaching trades are very rare, but I'm going to piggyback on what you said. I think it took just this year for us to finally start playoff games fast. Start off with a touchdown driving down the field or a touchdown in the first quarter. It took us year 7 of Lamar Jackson. And I hate to say, it's been different offensive coordinators, and finally now we're seeing us start off fast in the playoffs. And, why did it take so long? It's been a couple of guys under the helm at OC, and unfortunately, there's still a common denominator. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I hate the guy because I think last year, with everything in perspective, I mean I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought he handled the Deontay Johnson stuff really well. I mean, please tell me what team Deontay Johnson's on right now. I thought he handled that well. The Mark Williams stuff handled it well. We started off 0-2, bounced back, still won the division in a very tough AFC North. But I still wanted him to coach with something on the line and something to play for, and unfortunately, we're not going to see that. So I don't think he'll get traded for sure. I think he'll probably play out his contract or coach it out unless we win a Super Bowl. I genuinely think he's one Super Bowl away from having some really, really tough conversations with other coaches, legacy wise. But I think that's what he's going for. I think he's going for one more trophy, and he'll probably be out if we were to win that, to be completely honest with you. So if he wins it this next year, I think he could retire.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Abraham Diallo chimes in, says 99% of coaches who have the same resume that John has the last 7 seasons with a Hall of Fame quarterback who should have been a 3-time MVP, they would get fired by now.
Pete got
Thoughts?
shown the door. Pete Carroll, I mean, he had a fantastic team with them
That's a fact.
Seahawks, talented teams. They got knocked out by Jared Goff with a broken thumb in 2020. Had some underwhelming years. They had a really talented team. See you later. I think some other guys. Obviously, Tomlin hasn't. Um, then there was always, the Andy Reid Eagles thing. Kind of felt like it was stale. Maybe Harbaugh could. He still has it, maybe with a different team. Um, yeah, man, it's tough, and we need more than just that one AFC Championship appearance. We need the Super Bowl and the win right there,
Yeah, I mean, because like we said last time, like literally on the last episode of the show, like I think the Ravens are at a point now where it's just like, what else do you to say? What else do you want? us to do other than to go out there and execute when it matters most, win a championship. You know, like we have all of the pieces. We have the star quarterback. We have a damn good defense, right? We've got weapons all over the offense. One of the best running backs in the league. You know, we're retooling the offensive line, but we've got some really good pieces there as well. Young pieces too. So it's just like, what else do you want the Ravens to do? I mean, the only thing that I can really point to and think of is just kind of like a culture change, you know? Sometimes that is what it takes to kind of like shift the mindset, shift the mentality of the team and get them over the hump, you know? And Abraham made a good point here. Like a lot of other teams in the league would not let Harbaugh's leash go this far, you know? But again, the fact that he is a Super Bowl winning head coach, you have to extend some grace to him. The fact that, you know, ever since Lamar Jackson's been in the fold with the Ravens have been right there in the driver's contending for championships pretty much every single year, especially the ones that Lamar Jackson is healthy. So, and a lot of that you know attest that to Lamar Jackson being that damn good, which he is. But you know, a lot of people give credit to John Harbaugh for kind of building a team around him, wrapping his arms around Lamar, and really giving him the keys to not only the offense but really franchise. You know, so it's just with that being said, man, I think that is going to be tough for the Ravens to ever fire Harbaugh or trade Harbaugh. You know what I mean? Because it's just like as we know with the Ravens, it's kind of like a good old boys club, right? And I think that's kind of like one of the main reasons why he gets this deal a year early, despite the playoff struggles in the past couple of seasons. You know, like he's so locked in with that organization. Like I think that even if the Ravens would have went, I don't know, like 8-8 or something like that, and missed the playoffs, or 8-9 and missed the playoffs, or something like that, he still would have been around. He still might have got an extension. To be honest with you, I'm just
Yeah.
saying. A lot of people expected the Ravens to regress last season, but
Yeah, and you're right. I just feel like if we went 8-8, 8-9 with this roster we had last year, man, like I might have been there with a pitchfork and a torch, rioting, because like that's the amount of talent we had on this team. I still think we were better than what the 11 or 12 win team that we were. I think we were a 13, 14 win team last year. And that's why I'm dying on the hill that I think we'll be a 13 or 14 team next year, because I think we're gonna get better. I feel like I said, we lost dead wood that kind of was pulling us down. And to me, once again, there's no excuse. And people are still going to be on Harbaugh's ass if we have those stupid games we dropped to a Gardner Minshew quarterback, or a Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh that we dropped that game to, or Jameis Winston in Cleveland. Like, we can't be dropping those games. And I know we have those in us next, it's any given Sunday, but we're way too good of a football team to be losing a quarterback to that caliber. I can take the loss to Mahomes, take a loss to Allen, Burrow, etc. But like, you can't have those, and if you want to take us seriously. So I hope he does continue what he was doing last year, which I thought was very well. I thought he coached the playoff games honestly perfect. I didn't like some play calls, but I can't blame that on him compared to Munkin. But we did fast start. We started fast. I'm sorry. Bills game, we go down there, touchdown to Bateman first drive. Steelers game up 21-0 at half. So I hope he can keep on going. But um, yeah, man, I hope it's for the best. Hopefully some players want to play for him still, but we are a top organization still, and it could be worse. We could be, a Jets. We could be a Browns that are basically holding the L with the whole Deshaun Watson stuff. I don't know if you saw that quote. They might be releasing him in the offseason.
oh yeah,
So,
I
like I
saw
said,
that.
it could be worse, man, but uh, onwards and upwards is how I'm gonna look at it. Positivity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got my guy Piper here tuning in from X. Shout out to you, Piper. He is a Commanders fan. Shout out to
Ah,
them. He says y'all just need to put out there, let Andrews go, and y'all would have been in the Super Bowl last year. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of easy to say that given how that game unfolded, given how it ended. I understand that. It's just, like I said again, man, Ravens are kind of like a good old boys club. Like they will give you chance after chance after chance. Like if you are kind of like considered what you would say like a staple, no, like Mark Andrews is like a staple player on this team, right? It takes so much for Mark Andrews to be kind of moved on from. And Harbaugh said today, earlier at a press conference, that like he expects Mark Andrews to be playing football for the Baltimore Ravens in 2025, 2026. So that's kind of where we're at with that. But I mean, Piper, I understand what you're saying here because likely seems to be kind of like the next update in,
yeah,
on the Ravens. Like he is the guy who's been clutch in multiple moments. He was clutch in week 1 of the season against the Chiefs, right? Like literally leading a whole drive down there. Goes down and Lamar's just trusting him play after play, goes down hard and leaves the game for a play, comes back in, catches a touchdown that would have been a touchdown but wasn't because his foot is just a little bit too big. And then fast forward all to the very end of the season, Ravens back up against the wall, right? Got to have a touchdown to keep the season alive. Guess who comes up with the touchdown? It's Isaiah Likely. So like Isaiah Likely, of course, he's next up, and I don't know why the Ravens don't. I think it's just like the heartstrings. It's an emotional connection, right? I think at this point, Mark Andrews, and I think, of course, Mark Andrews he's performed really well in the regular season. He led the team in receiving touchdowns over the regular season after starting slow, even as well. So it's kind of hard to justify just get rid of him because of like a couple of mistakes at the end of the year. But I do agree that I think it is time, business wise, to give Likely that nod and let him step up as the main receiver and main receiver and see what you can get for Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged for the whole emotional thing because I do have an emotional attachment to Mark Andrews because he's given me some great memories. But I know what people feel about him, and I'll be honest, I don't think you can say he's going to be a Raven until after the draft. I still feel like the draft is a big it's a big benchmark. I feel like for this whole trade situation, he very well I feel like could be traded within the draft. I remember DeAndre Swift got traded to the Eagles like day two, a couple years ago in the draft. I'm not gonna say it's over until pick 252 is in or 253 and we're done with the draft because I feel like maybe there's a team that needs a tight end and thinks they can draft one. Board falls a different way. Let's call the Ravens up, see what they want for Andrews. We have a third round pick, maybe comp next year. We can give him our third next year and we can take him. But it does look like he'll be on the team. If I were to put percentages, I'll go like 85-15. But, depending what we start hearing, he still could get traded, I feel like, draft. And we can just eat that bonus. But yeah, I would like to see Likely get more looks. And I still feel like, we're still a really good team with both of them. But if we do trade Mark Andrews, I do want to have a backup plan, tight end wise. And this draft class has a couple of tight ends I'm interested in. We'll talk about that later in the shows. But there is always a backup plan in place, I feel like, if you were to trade him. I'll tell you that right
Oh, for sure, for sure. Love was here pointing out that the Ravens are actually 8-0 without Mark Andrews, so we don't understand why Andrews is such a staple to the team. But it's just when Mark Andrews, there's just like that kind of just the narrative that like he is Lamar Jackson's security blanket, which he widely was for you know the majority of Lamar Jackson's career. I think Lamar Jackson kind of graduated from having to rely on a Mark Andrews to being able to spread the ball around to pretty much anybody who he has as a receiver. We see that time and time again when he's got a devastated cast at wide receiver, a devastated receiver room due to hours and things like that. He still performs. He still steps up. He gets the ball around, makes guys better, elevates guys around him. So that's where Lamar Jackson is at now. And like you said, Love Us, the Ravens are undefeated with Mark Andrews playing, starting. So it's just I don't know. It's got to be the emotional connection. That's literally all it is. Literally all it is.
now. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Sucks. I mean,
So
we got rid of Todd Heap as
sucks.
well. We got rid of Todd Heap.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna say, if you know, you know.
yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here.
Yes.
So outside of John Harbaugh getting his contract extended, Lamar Jackson and the
Mm.
talks about him getting an extension have started to kind of begin between Lamar and the Ravens. And you guys can see here, Myra from My Sports Update, he says the Ravens have had early extensions talks with key Lamar Jackson, and head coach John Harbaugh said that when a deal gets done, Jackson will become the highest paid player in NFL history.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we before seen Lamar Jackson get paid and be the highest paid ever, and that was a really cool moment. I think for all of us Ravens fans, of course, it was for Lamar and his family as well. But to see that it's getting ready to happen again, I think that's another really cool thing. And I think Lamar Jackson absolutely deserves it. After he's been kind of kicked down the ladder of like highest paid quarterbacks in the league just in the past year and a half. Since he's gotten paid, like so many other guys are sitting above him in terms of annual money per year. I don't have the exact list. Alex, can you pull it
I
up
have the
of all the
list.
guys who are getting paid? Cool. Yeah, because it's crazy. It's crazy. So
Do
this
we
is definitely warranted.
we want to do the average per year? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Rather than just money. All right, cool. So we're gonna go down the list, and I'm gonna name everybody, starting from where Lamar is at. So we have Lamar Jackson at 52 a year, and right below him is Jalen Hurts 51. All right, which even crazier is this is like goes Lamar, Hurts, Kyler, Watson, Kirk Cousins, Mahomes. That's just crazy. He's that far down. But here are the quarterbacks that are
Yeah.
being paid more average per year than Lamar Jackson: Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Dak Prescott. Um, yeah, there's some guys
Yeah.
on there. It's a little questionable. Um,
This really just goes to show how hard it is to draft a quarterback, you know,
yes,
because teams are terrified. Teams would rather have an average to good quarterback, right? And pay top of the market money rather than go out and use some draft capital to try to draft a guy that you can get for cheap for 3 4 years and he ends up being good, right? Teams are that scared, that terrified of not having a viable quarterback. So teams like the Jaguars, teams like the Cowboys, right? Who teams like the Cardinals, I don't think they really expect themselves to win championships with some of these quarterbacks. I really don't. Justin
thank
Herbert's never won a playoff game before, you know. But yet, I mean, they just have to have let's just hold it down. Kyler Murray can hold it down. Justin Herbert can hold it down. You know what I mean? Dak Prescott, another guy like that too. But these guys, I think that they have a clear ceiling, especially in the you can make the same argument about Lamar Jackson. He's fallen short. I understand that. But Lamar Jackson is a tier above those guys based off sheer number one ability. I think he does a lot of things better than a lot of those other guys. And he's a proven winner. He's a proven winner consistently. It's just the whole team breaks down in the playoffs, including him sometimes as well. But that's another story for another day. But again, Alex, I just want to say this. Like, it seems like the Ravens are just reloading the clip at this point, right? We were looking at next year, Lamar Jackson's cap number was going to be to like $70 million or something like that, which is like a quarter of the cap space. And the Ravens would not be able to literally operate, function like that, right? So it's kind of like a no brainer. It's kind of a no brainer. Hey, Lamar, let's come back. Let's talk. Let's extend you out a couple of more seasons, and we're gonna bring that average $1 million year down a little
yeah.
bit, just so we can have to sign other players and be a little bit more flexible that way. So it makes sense, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, is the cap really cap? Because it just seems to be like there's always some sort of loophole, or not even necessarily a loophole, but a way around, like a way around cap hell. If you navigate it the right way, you can always get around it. It seems like.
I mean, it catches up to teams. I'm gonna be honest. The Saints. I mean, look at the Saints right now, and please tell me they're just tell me in my face without laughing they're like more than a 6 win team. I just don't see it. They really can't sign anybody, and the people they sign make really no sense. They have Derek Carr, quarterback, who couldn't drive a car at this point. It feels like so. I mean, there are workarounds, and it will catch up. I feel like this year, I mean, it kind of caught up to us a little bit because we did have I think the Odell, we had a couple of million that is just dead cap, and we have a couple of void years in the future. But I think they're banking on the cap to go up. But I think for good teams, it may not catch up to you because you're able to convert some of the bonus, but it's having the players that are willing to do it. I notice with the Chiefs, Holmes and Kelsey always convert some of that to the bonus, and it could be cap in the sense that if your guys are willing to maybe eat some of the money, they'll do it. But I still feel like it is a real thing, and some teams are not playing it right can get caught in cap hell. But thankfully, hasn't been one of us. But being said, with the extension, I would be over the moon with it. I would love to get it done. Um, really, just not go through what we went through a couple years ago, and have our guy locked up and make him a Raven for life. Honestly,
Yeah, hard agree there. Omega 21, what's going on, Omega? Says PRP don't think Lamar should sign an extension with the Ravens. They wholeheartedly wasted his rookie contract, and they're just going to waste even more because they do not change. Um, you know, I can understand where you're coming from here, Omega. I think the issue with your take here is that Jackson has a different type of mentality. I think Lamar squarely puts a lot of the playoff struggles on himself. Like the uncharacteristic fumble last year. Well, honestly, I won't say the fumble was uncharacteristic. We've seen that multiple times before from Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, but interception, that one wasn't as like I'm just I don't know, especially like the one debate and then the triple coverage one the year before that. Like honestly, both of them are kind of characteristic. Now I'm talking myself through it, but again, that kind of makes my point here. I think Lamar kind of puts a lot of these playoff struggles on himself, and for that reason, he's not going to say, "Oh, you guys need to change so I can throw less interceptions in the playoffs. I think that's probably where he's thinking about it from. So he's probably all for. I'm sure he loves Baltimore. Baltimore loves him. We love him. You love him. It's just I think he's gonna stay. I think he will be a Raven for life if I had to guess, and that's how I want. And I definitely do want him to sign this extension because it means that we can be a lot more flexible with the money come next season. Then yeah, that's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take.
And I unfortunately feel like in that rookie contract, we were dealt with a lot of just bad luck, to say the least. Go through year by year. I feel like 19, we did get hit in that game. No Andrews and Ingram being kind of beat up. 21, 22, Lamar missed the end of the seasons. You really can't predict that. And I feel like he's one of the guys that's gotten paid this big contract and not only exceeded it, but just excel. He went up to a different level that you really haven't seen him. He played better after getting paid than before getting paid, in my opinion. Maybe it was because he had Zay Flowers and Bateman and Odell and actually had a competent offensive coordinator. But come on, man. Like, you look at some of his years, like, wow, like, imagine somebody told you in 2019, yeah, Lamar's going to have a year damn near twice as better than that. I wouldn't have believed you because that was just so new to me. But I feel like getting him paid and showing him, paying him what he's worth is big and can only just help him and help this organization out in the long run for 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, if I had to give a like it, love it, or hate it, I'm just gonna have to say I love it. I
I
love it,
love
man. It's gonna
it.
help
I
the team.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lamar stays, less money pay, in the upcoming years. Um, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. So, all right, let's go ahead and move right along here to our next topic of the show. More Ravens related news. This one a little bit on a slightly darker tip,
Ah,
as we've been covering this throughout the entire offseason. So, Ravens team president Sashi Brown, and this is per Jeff Zaribek on Twitter, says, quote, the notion is we have a zero tolerance policy where we're going to make decisions just merely based on allegations before we have full understanding of the facts, before we allow investigations to continue. We will never have that policy, end quote. So, of course, team president Sashi Brown there is talking about the whole Justin Tucker situation and kind of like how that's transpiring. He was asked about that. So, um, you know, Alex, we've kind of talked about this at length in terms of like where we stand on it morally. I've always said where there's smoke, there's fire in situations like this. I think that everybody is probably telling the truth in this case. Probably not. Do I think that everybody's lying in this case? Probably not. It's just like, but the fact that people would suggest that, okay, this is probably just nothing. I don't agree with that. So this is kind of like from Sashi Brown. It comes off a little bit tone deaf because the Ravens have kind of been a little bit inconsistent with this whole zero tolerance on and off thing. And yeah, but what do you say, Alex?
yeah, I was just gonna bring up a quote from August 1st, 2022. Um, John Harbaugh and Deshaun Watson suspension. I have a lot of opinions on it. I'm not at liberty to share them at this time. That's for the league to decide. I respect what Steve Bisciotti and Dick Cass created here almost 10 years ago. What we decided was that we're kind of zero tolerance. We've stayed away from that particular situation. I'm glad we had that policy. That's not zero tolerance to me anymore. I'm still at the school of thought, bro. What's it? The June 1st, they can cut him. He can get out of here, and I'll crack a cold one. Honestly, it's annoying at this point. I haven't forgotten about it. No matter how much PR they try to do, I'm still not gonna forget about it. I don't care if they have like this little joint thing with London. I don't care how much you do in the community. All that. You gotta just let him go when you can, and it. They're just I just really don't like how we're going about it. That's all. Without getting too deep into it and getting personal. It's not a good look still.
Yeah, definitely not a good look. I think that the Ravens, since this kind of broke from Baltimore, they're not too huge of a source, right? I think that they want to let the NFL kind of do their quote unquote due diligence and see what they come up with, and then they'll make their final verdict based off of that. If you rewind back to what was it, the 2014, like the Ray Rice incident
Hmm.
that happened, where he was released cut and dry. I think that a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was like actual videos, so there was like
Hmm.
tangible evidence of this happening, and it was like, okay, everybody can see this. Like we gotta let you go. Um, in this case, the Ravens are kind of. I feel like they feel like they're in a tough spot right now because they want to let the NFL continue to investigate and just kind of wrap up their investigation. But at the same, they don't want to come out and condemn Tucker either. It's really weird. It's really weird how they're handling it, and all we can really do is just how this plays out. What you got for me?
Yeah, so I just pulled this up. I think I'm trying. If my memory served me correctly, and I think this is what it was. Ray Rice was suspended on July 24th of
Mm-hmm.
2014 for all this, violating the league's personal conduct policy. And then
Mm-hmm.
once the video emerged on TMZ, that's when we cut him. So once everybody saw what happened, we're like, oh yeah, you're taking the down, you're taking the fall, you're out of here, we're cutting you. Like, don't sit here and tell me the Ravens did not have any just knowledge of this video. Like it waited for the video to come out to the public to let him go. And I feel like they're waiting until the NFL to find something, then they can cut him. I feel like they know something, and they're just waiting for the NFL, I guess, to find it out too, or maybe they aren't. But either way, what I sat back and thought is like, think of players, that need confidence in the NFL. A kicker right there is at the top. You've seen a kicker with no confidence how bad they are. Now factor in a 35-year-old Justin Tucker with these allegations, who was lacking confidence last year. Is he really going to be at the highest level, even if everything would work out in his, in his way to come back in the NFL? I don't think he is. So I saw Harbaugh talking about taking a kicker. I like to get one UDFA and a vet, but you got to just let him go whenever you can. And standing on that hill, and I'm right there with you. Is every single person on the truth? Probably not. But is everybody lying? Definitely not. And look, we said one is
Yeah.
too many, and I just don't like the way we're going down on this ship.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And like you said, it's a good point. John Harbaugh did mention the Ravens drafting a kicker. He said that the special teams coach has been traveling the country looking at kickers and things like that for the upcoming draft and whatnot. So I definitely think that the Ravens, I think you hit the nail on the head, that post June 1 cut date. I think that they'll probably move on from Justin Tucker then, and we'll have somebody in the draft before that ready to go ahead and replace him. So I think Tucker, I think his days are numbered in Baltimore. I think Baltimore's just kind of staying a little bit tight-lipped right now because they don't want to. I don't know whether they know something or not, but they don't want to, have egg on their face, I guess you could say, if they are wrong about whatever claims they want to make against or levy against Tucker. So we'll just wait and see. We're gonna wait and see. But yes, Don Royal is correct here. The media has been very, very quiet about Tucker, and just going further than Baltimore media, national media. When the Deshaun Watson thing was going on, it was covered everywhere. You know what I mean, like everywhere. But this is kind of like very, very silent. Very, very silent.
Yeah.
Weird. Weird.
So I pulled it up. TMZ released the Ray Rice video at 1 o'clock a.m. on September 8th, 2014, and we cut him that morning. And they're saying we didn't know about it, apparently. But once again, how does TMZ have it before a team? You know what I mean? I just, this happened in that summer, and it took like 3 months. Don't sit here and tell me TMZ got it, before we saw it, or the NFL saw it. I don't know,
Yes,
man.
they
That's
really
just
have
dope.
their
Yeah.
ear to the streets.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here to our next topic of the episode. So, just some small things. So, one thing here, the tush push has been in the news recently. The Packers, I want to say it was, came out and voted against having the tush push as a legal play in the National Football League. And so today, Patriots head coach, the new Patriots head coach, that is, Mike Vrabel, said something about the proposal to ban tush pushes, and I quote, "There are a lot of plays that are hard to defend. I don't think you can get rid of them every time it becomes tough to stop it. Like Lamar Jackson shouldn't be able to run with the football anymore. How about making that a rule because it's hard to defend?" End quote. So, shout out to Mike Vrabel, giving a little shout out to the Raven quarterback there, saying, yeah, Lamar Jackson's really damn good running the football, and a lot of teams can't stop those type of plays. So, should we ban Lamar Jackson from running the football as well? Um, I get what he's saying there. A lot of people would argue, like, the tush push, it's much of a football play, and it's not entertaining to watch because you know what the outcome is going to be of that play 8 to 9 times out of 10. As opposed to Lamar Jackson running around the field, that's just entertaining as hell to watch because Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. He's special in the open field. But Alex, what did you take away from Vrabel kind of, going again the tush push naysayers here?
This man, Mike Vrabel, just an all ball type of guy. That's kind of how I expected a former Super Bowl champion to talk. He's done it all. He's won it all. And if you're gonna throw something his way, he's gonna stop it. The same way, unfortunately, he stopped Lamar Jackson in 2019. He found a way, no matter how hard it got, and he shut it down. So I'm not really for or against it. I mean, it's a play. I'm gonna stop it the same way people probably would love to stop the read option. You can't. Um, but man, I do like what he said here. I'm not gonna lie. I do. Mike Vrabel, you got a little soft spot in my heart for that
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Mike Vrabel does in his first year coaching the Patriots. I know that city is going to wrap their arms around him, and he's got a young quarterback who they believe in. They're getting guys on offense, Stephon Diggs and the likes. Of course, they got the draft coming up, more cap space available as well. Um, It'll be very, very interesting to see how he fares this season. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Very cool for Mike Vrabel to say something like this about Lamar Jackson, and he makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, you can call it not a football play as much as you want. It is a football play. Like it's legal within the rules of football. Like it's well within the rules. It's essentially just a QB sneak with somebody helping you, like push you from behind, like that on a lot of different plays, right? So are we saying that like we should never allow somebody to like push somebody? Um, like in any scenario, because if we start to alter the rules, I think it's like a little bit of a slippery slope in
one.
terms of like where we end up. So yeah, really agree with Vrabel there. Let's go ahead and move on to one more topic for this episode of the show. This was that just came out today as well. Pretty interesting stuff here as we scroll down through the good old Twitter. So the NFL is updating its uniform policy to allow teams to wear throwback or alternate uniforms 4 times per season. Now, this is very exciting for a lot of NFL fans. It's exciting for me, of course, and I know it's exciting for Alex. He's really good and he's really big into uniforms and things like that. I remember one of our first episodes of the show, we were talking about some of the best uniforms in the
Yeah,
league, and those Ravens alternates that we wore on it wasn't Christmas Day, but when did we wear the alternates? The
the
new
black and the
ones with the
purple.
purple helmet.
Oh,
No, yeah,
the all purple, purple
yeah,
rising.
yeah.
That was like mid-November, the Thursday night game.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Against
Yeah,
the Bengals, I want to say.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
Seeing that uniform, or just the possibility of seeing that uniform more than once a year, I think it sounds really freaking cool. But what did you take away from this, Alex, and how you feeling?
Yeah, so I absolutely love kind of all the uniforms you're showing there. I think to me, one of my favorites right there is the Seahawks, that old school throwback one. 4 times a year is a little much. I feel like it's oversaturation. Like I feel like imagine the Ravens wore the All Blacks 4 times a year. Like wearing the All Blacks on like 1 or 2 primetime games at night really hits different compared to wearing it on some meaningless 1 o'clock game. Give me like 2 to 3 times
Yeah,
a year, maybe two. Um, and I like it. Before is a little bit much for me. I don't want to be get off my lawn type of guy, but I don't want to oversaturate and kind of get sick of these beautiful uniforms because some of them really are just pieces of art. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Balti Raven in the house. What's going on, Balti
What's going
Raven?
on?
What's up, Flock Nation? Appreciate you for coming through, stopping by. Yeah, you know what? I think that the NFL, and I think you mentioned this before the show, the fact that they're increasing the amount of games per season, they want to do something people kind of engage because as we all know, football, the NFL, a lot of the casual fans start to have like NFL fatigue, football fatigue,
Mhm.
like in like late December, you know what I mean? Holidays are coming around, things like that. And then of course the playoffs is when things really heat back up again. So I think that in order to keep kind of like fans engaged and whatnot, I think they're gonna throw or make sure that teams wear their alternate uniforms at some point in that last window, that last quarter of the season, right? To just kind of keep people, just an extra thing to keep people tuned in. That football fatigue is definitely a thing. I mean, even I feel it sometimes. Like I don't necessarily feel like watching 7 hours of commercial free football on Red Zone like early December, when certain teams, they're are down and out for the season, right? There's a bunch of blowouts everywhere. You can kind of know exactly how each game is going to go. Like the fatigue really does set in. So why not have us, wear some interesting uniforms just to keep the eye pleased, the aesthetics in tip top shape. So I can kind of see from that perspective.
I gotta back you up fully. I think 18 games is a Stupid. Like, it's generally one of the stupidest decisions they can make. I already hate 17 games. I'm right there with you. It felt like a chore watching some of those Saturday games. Why the hell am I watching the Chargers and the Patriots on Saturday football? NFL Network with Kurt Warner and Rich Eisen. Why am I watching like this meaningless game? Oh, because the Chargers can clinch a playoff spot, but just going to lose in the first round. Like, that was like, those games are not needed. Give me 16 again. 17 is but like in week 17, you're not really playing for much for a lot of these teams, or week 18, whatever it is. Uh, I'm right.
Right.
The fatigue is a real thing, and look at the attendance. If your team is really bad, look at some of these attendances that we're having in some of these games. It wasn't good. It wasn't. And 18 games is just not safe. I feel like for the players, and it's completely going against. I feel like what the NFL is shooting for, more money, because you're gonna have a lot more. I hate to say a lot more injuries. I'm not talking about us, just in general, a lot more injuries around the league. So yeah, and to me, oversaturation as well. Like, there's a reason why the Ravens, Commanders, Ravens, Eagles games are so much money. We don't play them that much. I like that. I like
Right.
playing them once every 4 years. And playing some of the other teams once every 3 years in the AFC because it makes it that more meaningful compared to just, every year or so. Why did we play the Rams 2 times in 3 years? That just isn't the NFL. And that might be a boomer take. I just don't like just the way the NFL is going in that sense.
No, I agree. I agree because, the NFL, they really are so, or they have been so dominant, and they are still very dominant, because they literally own a day of the week, Sunday, you know? And so, like, when you start putting games on, you've got games on Monday, now you've got games on Fridays, right? Saturdays, things like that. Like, I'm watching Chiefs Raiders on a random Saturday, like you said, on NFL Network, and, you know, I'm watching Mahomes get crazy calls for him, in his favor. And when I'm just like, why am I watching this right now?
Hmm.
Like, it's Saturday afternoon. Like, I could be out somewhere, I don't know, hanging out with friends or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I understand from the NFL perspective because they want to kind of get more people in like this competitive space that is like content now, right? You want to have as much content out as as you want your content to be available as much as you can. But I think, like you said, when it gets to like the fatigue thing, and like us, we're not just casual football fans, Alex. Like, we are more like hardcore fans. Like, we really follow the league. We follow this Ravens team. Obviously, we cover them for the podcast. So like, we watch a lot. So for us to have like football fatigue, and I love the sport of football. I know you do too. I know you love the other sport of football even more. But American football, I know we both love watching some American football. And it's just like, for us to feel that way, it means that the product is kind of like, it's being degraded in a way. It's being degraded in a way, because it just doesn't feel as much of like a spectacle when this game's pretty much every other day, you know. So yeah, but still, I think it is pretty cool, net positive, right? That we are going to get more alternate uniform, throwback uniforms, because I don't think that they're going to stop upping the amount of games per season. So, but yeah, with that being said, I think that is going to do it for that last topic in the episode of the show. We appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming through to this one. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful little transition. Yeah, I thought we had some really good conversations, and I'm glad we really agreed on the end because right there with you. Why on Black Friday am I watching Patrick Mahomes get bailed out by refs? Why am I doing this? I just didn't like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I think that's exactly when that game was, Black Friday. Yeah. Chargers, not Chargers, but Chiefs Raiders. It was a tough watch, very tough watch. I didn't even finish the game. But yeah, again, man, this has been another amazing episode, 304 of the Purple Rain podcast. We want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming through. If you like the video before you get out of here, subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy today's episode. And if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, make sure you leave a comment down below on your thoughts about the episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything we said, make sure you sound off down below in the comment section. My name is Sutton Def. You can find me on X or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can find this guy over here on Twitter at SimplyAS10. On Instagram, simply as10.prod. And then, of course, our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped. Go on manscaped.com, fill up your cart, and use our code PRP at checkout to save yourself 20% off plus the free international shipping. Yeah, and with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming through episode 304 of the Purple Rain podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes, yes, yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call gods. Episode 304 of PP. We're gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.